the one of the issues that they've got is they buy these franchises like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, forgetting that, I mean, yeah, you could stream new stuff, but everybody still owns their physical copies of these things that they liked. And so if you're buying up old IP to just put on a streaming service, you're not adding new people, like, because the people who actually care about those things, there, all of that stuff comes from a generation of existing high quality physical media. So unless you're doing something really new that people are going to like with the IP, dumping it into a streaming service is a complete waste of money. Like, I just can't imagine someone who really wants to experience Star Wars going like, I'm going to sign up for Disney Plus for this, rather than just pulling out their Blu-ray of the remastered Star Wars or whatever, you know, like the. And so then if the new stuff that they're making with the IP isn't going to sell, which they, because they're not making the old stuff just new, they're making new stuff that no one wants to see. And of course, it's just going to be a money pit for everything that they buy. It's like, maybe they should stop trying to buy up old IPs and to revitalize a streaming service and just make something new for people to tune into the service for.
No, Nick, you don't understand, man. Like, making new stuff requires creativity and taking a risk. And
That's true.
we don't want to do that anymore. What we want is safe, reliable incomes from things that people already know and understand. So we can just milk existing properties. That's all it is. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
predictable. Like the complete lack of creativity that goes into these things is terrifying.
Right.
Nick mentioned that like it can be a bit of redundance because we already have the physical copies. If you don't have the physical copies, you should get them. Just
Yeah.
saying. All your favorites of all time, and that includes games, TV, books, whatever, just everything. Get them physical, folks. We might be one of the
Because
last generations that can.
anything that came out in the 80s or 90s, like, it already comes with content warnings saying like this contains outdated themes that people might find offensive and all that. And it's like, okay, that's, you're one step away from starting to cut things out
Oh,
and
dude.
edit things.
So when Mel was visiting me, I wanted to show him certain episodes of Community, and the one I wanted to show him, Chad, I know where I'm going with this, is the Dungeons and Dragons one, where one of the characters cosplays as a dark elf and he just puts a blackface on. It's hilarious. But there's a black character who's just like, what the fuck are you doing? He's just like, I'm a dark elf, like, leave me alone. It's funny as hell. It's self-aware. They got rid of it on Netflix. It's gone. You can't get to it. And I was like, fuck, I can't show him that episode just from Netflix now. It's awkward, but it's just like, it's so annoying that I can't watch the media I enjoy because someone else was like, no, it's too mean.
Yeah. So my wife was watching, she watches through all of Star Trek chronologically in the background while she does stuff. She just has it on. And she was just on the last original series movie, the what is it, the Undiscovered Country or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had like the most banging racist joke against Klingons that happened. The Klingons teleported out.
Is it the guess who's coming to dinner thing?
No, it was the Klingons, like, they get on the transporter and they go away, and there's two ensigns walking, and one of them's like, oh god, can you imagine, like, can you even stand the smell? And then the one's like, man, only the top end models are even able to speak. It was like, holy shit, like, they just dropped this spicy race joke into the movie, and I was like, you can't even do that anymore, because now, like, Klingons obviously represent black people, so now you're making a terrible racist joke when it was actually racist against Klingons. But it was perfect. It's like, oh god, that's what we need more of. We need to go back to just having racist jokes in movies, and it'd be okay.
Well, I think, is this the same? Is this the same line of thinking where people nowadays are like, oh, the orcs from Lord of the Rings represented black people, and it's like nobody thought that back in the day. It was like, you're just projecting your own fucking weird, perverted like view of people onto this property. I like the Klingons always represented communism. Like, they always represented the Soviet Union in Star Trek. And so, like, when when Undiscovered Country came along, it was just a direct parallel to like the collapse of the USSR and like the perestroika
exactly.
and stuff that was going on
Literally
there.
came out in 1991, I think, that film. So
It did, yeah, and like
yeah.
that's what I always took it as. But it's like, again, people project their own hang-ups onto these movies in retrospect, and it's such a weird thing to witness because then they get they also get retroactively offended by things that weren't even in it. You know, it's such a weird thing.
I love the
I've
whole.
got a sorry, I got
Go
a
ahead.
commitment that I cannot get out of, so I'm gonna have to leave you guys. But it's been an absolute blast, and thanks for having me on once again to talk about the right state of Hollywood. And it's been lovely to hang out, but I absolutely have to go.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming on. And
Nice meeting you,
for
dude.
people
you
in
too.
chat, please subscribe to Echo Chamberlain. He produces some amazing, like, great breakdowns of like movies, like how characters are portrayed nowadays, and just like the general state of modern entertainment. It's very good stuff.
Yeah, see you, dude.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Catch you later.
Do you think we three can keep a conversation going? I don't know.
I
not
know
possible.
we're all pretty shy and retiring. I don't think we can handle this.
I saw someone in chat brought this up, and I can't help but do it as well every time. It's that when you knock out the ability to get those on streaming services and you don't actually have them on physical copy yet, there's one place left. It's called piracy.
Yar!
But the
Sailing
thing
the
is,
seas.
there's no argument against it at that point. You can't say that's unethical. You'd be like, well, I can't get it anywhere else, even if I pay. So, you know, at that point, you do pay for it. It's just refilling that deleted episode from the service, isn't it?
It's such an insidious and unsavory idea. This idea that like your favorite shows and stuff are on streaming services, and they'll just decide arbitrarily, like, well, this particular episode is offensive to people now, so we're just gonna quietly like erase it from existence, so like it never happened. And you can't buy it on Blu-ray or anything like that either, because again, same reasons. We've decided like it's not acceptable for modern audiences. And it's like, who the fuck are you to decide retroactively that this thing that people loved that was made like 10, 20, 30 years ago is now unacceptable? Who are you to decide that no one's entitled to watch that thing? It's
clearly
fucking,
pressure. Like, it's not actually any kind of consistent rule that they went through all of movie and TV and they went, you know what, this is now unacceptable by modern understandings of morality. It's just when enough people complain about a thing, it almost makes you want to test it out and get a whole huge group of thousands together and just they all complain. Like, I saw a toilet in Back to the Future. I think that scene should be deleted. It's offensive.
Yeah.
Shouldn't just have a toilet there. And just see how many times you can complain about that before they go, okay, we're gonna remove the toilet. We agree it is offensive. There shouldn't be a toilet. It's just like, because that's all it is, right? It's just buckling. It's like, please keep using our services.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, the backwards projection is the main thing. I mean, sure, there are some things that were racially insensitive or culturally insensitive in the past, and one, we have to just go, who fucking cares? Like, you can't undo the racism of 1953. Like, you're just not going to go back. Like, you don't have a time machine. You're not going to go back and fix everything. So just accept that it was part of it. But then there's that projection, the race projection that happens, like with the black people being orcs. The first time I read that, I was like, wait, orcs are black people? How? And they're like, well, they're depicted as savages and all this stuff. Like, this is not helping you.
And it's like,
not good.
The people who claim to be on the side of like righteousness and like diversity and stuff are the ones projecting this stuff onto everyone else. It's like, we literally never saw it as that, but like, you guys are the ones telling us that that's what it is and that's why it's unacceptable. It says a lot more about you than it does about us.
These orcs are not eating chitlins. What are you talking about?
That's what. Do you remember that extra credits video where they were like, they did the same thing about orcs and stuff, and everyone was just like, "Stop! You're saying horrible things. You think you're saying nice things." Yeah, it keeps happening more and more. It's really fucking annoying.
Every time.
Because you can laugh at it, but then if it actually has like significant power and actually makes it so that we can't watch things anymore, it's just like, Jesus Christ, why?
Well, they're already talking about like Ace Ventura, like because of all the Einhorn as a man like stuff in it, and it's like that, which is a great payoff, and it's really funny in the context of the movie. but like again, people apparently are really offended by it now, and it's just like, is there anything that you guys can find funny now? Like people
No.
like this, is there anything that's acceptable to laugh at for these people? Is there any joy in their lives? I don't think there is. I think it's just like they exist to be miserable and like make everyone as miserable as they are.
They do, and the crazy thing about that is, so it's couched as jokes in Ace Ventura, and like everybody's in on the joke, and it's all ridiculous, but it's also like kind of the normative experience. Like if you were making out with someone who's dressed up convincingly as a woman, you find out they're a man, like the average guy is going to be a little bit unsettled by that, but you're not allowed to be unsettled by that anymore. That's the problem. Like you're supposed to see a trans woman or whatever, which I don't think that's what was actually going on there, but you're supposed to see that as, no, that's just a woman. It's like, well, except for there's 3 reasons it's not.
The worst case of hemorrhoids you've ever seen. And it's I just think is over the top reactions where he's got like the fucking toilet plunger in his own mouth and he's like, he's like burning all his clothes and like in the shower crying and stuff. It's just great. It's so funny because it's so overdone. But like, yeah, like that kind of humor, like it's not allowed now. And I just think, god damn, like what are future generations going to look back on in this time period and think, yeah, they really nailed comedy back in the 2020s.
And
stuff, a classic, yeah.
And I know it's such a generic like trope joke or whatever, but honestly, like the 1984ing is really strong with these ones. Like homogenize everything into an acceptable lexicon. Everything has to be here. If the joke deviates from acceptability, it needs to be cast off, excised, and put into the dumpster of history. First, it gets a content warning, then it just gets quietly removed from a streaming service. And so you're asking, like, what is it going to look like? Like, what is the next generation's comedy? It's going to literally be Velma. It's just that over and over in every medium. It's She-Hulk, it's Velma, it's the new Masters of the Universe. It's going to be these same things where there's this little Venn diagram of acceptable comedy, and it's just a circle that says our shit and nothing else. And
I think the Onion did it quite recently, and it was a response to like the voice actor for Apu having been cancelled from The Simpsons because like he wasn't actually ethnically Indian, and like they just did this thing, and it's like we now present to you humor family, and they're all like there's the gray Wojak face, and it's like now acceptable for all 557 genders and like all the different like tropes of diversity and stuff, and it's like designed specifically not to offend anyone, and it's just like the most bland, awful like gray sludge humor you can imagine. But that's what we'll end up with, It's like.
The thing is, I find the almost content warning things they piss me off quite a bit, right? Didn't they do one for Aliens where they were like,
that was awful, yeah. It's like contains outdated attitudes. It's like what? Like the women are actually like, quite capable of doing stuff and like kind of awesome.
Was it all just
that an outdated attitude, is it?
Bill Paxton's lines? Like, was that the outdated attitudes? Is just Bill Paxton?
It's part of the character, and it's great. He has a full-on arc. Why are we like? It's like damaging the actual stories. And then I say that as if the next step, as you put it, isn't getting rid of it altogether, which is just like, to be honest, that should have been way too unacceptable. That's like a line cross. It's insane. You just stole content from the world. Why? Because it's like, well, we don't think that you should see this. It's like, fuck you. What the hell?
Yeah, it's like,
who the
who
fuck
are you
is we?
Who are you? Yeah, who are you to judge what we should see?
And you might think, like, yeah, but okay, it's only going to be the super extreme stuff. It's like, nope, it's a random episode of a comedy show. Is Faulty Towers still allowed on streaming services? I don't even know.
Oh, it's got to be right on the brink. This is the thing, like, I hate to be that guy who's like, oh, well, it's the slippery slope argument, but that's exactly what it fucking is. And that's what it always starts as. It's like, you'll start with this tiny little thing. It's like, we just want to edit this little really offensive phrase out of this one show. Then we just want to take this scene out. Then we just want to take this episode out. Then we just want to take the entire show out. And where does it stop? It doesn't. It's never enough. All of these things have to ultimately go. They all have to be erased. They all have to be replaced with like safe, dull, predictable, politically acceptable garbage.